So I decided to shoot this video instead of trying to type everything out because it's just obnoxious and I'm lazy, so I hope this works. So, the coronavirus, what's really scary about the coronavirus is that it can spread very easily. So, that's why they keep talking about the 6 foot distance you've probably heard about, because that's the amount of distance it can take to spread. Scientists have pretty much said if the entire world could pause and everybody just stayed 6 feet away, the virus would be wiped out. Now, I don't know if they've put out recent studies, but I believe mid-March what they were saying is that the coronavirus can be airborne for up to 3 hours because it's basically spread mostly by droplets, like when we cough, things like that. Or if you were doing a neb treatment, it could come back out in the air. They're saying that it can last on surfaces for 5 minutes. So normally at work, at hospitals, things of that nature, we use special wipes called Sani wipes, and it's a special concoction that kills a lot of things because we deal with MRSA and C. diff, things like that. The problem is that for those things to be effective, they have to sit on surfaces for a couple minutes in order to kill things. And in this case, up to 5 minutes to kill things. And we've had to come up with different sprays and things like that that will last that long on a surface. And it's very resistant. So Purell, the hand sanitizer, that's alcohol-based, that's what we use because alcohol kills germs. Well, last they were saying is that whatever you use to clean your hands needs to be 60% alcohol in order to kill things. So it's very resistant and it spreads very rapidly. What's very scary about it is the 14-day quarantine they talk about. The reason they do that is because you can have the virus dormant for 14 days until symptoms might appear. So you might be walking around with the coronavirus having no idea, and in that time you are spreading it to other people. Pretty much what they say is that you can spread it to 3 people, and then those 3 people spread it to 3 people, and those 3, and very quickly now you have this large amount of people with this virus, and nobody might not even know, and other people might be completely asymptomatic. So that's what's scary about it, is that that's how fast it spreads. That's why it's become a global pandemic, and nobody took it seriously. People are just irresponsible. I think it was somewhere here in the US, I think it was Kentucky, someone had like a coronavirus party and someone went away with the coronavirus. Like, it's ridiculous. So the coronavirus is a respiratory virus. Basically how it works is in your lungs you have pouches, like just little round pouches, very tiny. They're called alveoli. And that's where your gas exchange occurs. So that's where, you take in oxygen and it mixes in and it goes into the bloodstream, and then you breathe out carbon dioxide. That all happens in the alveoli. So things like COPD ruins your alveoli, and that's why, like, COPD, you're breathing and you're breathing and you're breathing and you're trying to get in all this air, and it doesn't matter because they're not exchanging anything in the alveoli. And that's why, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but like people on COPD, you never put their oxygen further than 3 because you don't want them higher than an 89% saturation. So usually for normal people, it's 100, 95 to 100 is normal. For COPD, it's 89%. Because if you overload them with oxygen, they won't be able to breathe because there's no gas exchange. So the coronavirus goes in there and it fucks with the alveoli, which is bad enough. And then it messes with surfactant. Now, surfactant is something that your lungs create that keeps everything kind of we'll say like slick. It keeps everything from sticking together. If you didn't have surfactant, your lungs wouldn't be able to expand and close. So that's like when premature babies are born. The problem when they say their lungs aren't developed, they're not developing surfactant yet. That doesn't happen until I believe 35 weeks. So that's why they go into lung failure, because they don't have the surfactant they need. So the coronavirus goes in there and it goes into the cells that make surfactant. And instead of now the cell making surfactant, what it does is the coronavirus takes over and it starts manufacturing the different parts it needs to create more of a virus. Think of it like some kind of assembly line, like a robot. It creates all the parts needed and it forms more of the virus. So it's destroying the alveoli, it's destroying the surfactant, and then it's releasing more coronavirus. So that's why people are going on ventilators, because they can't breathe. That happens a lot with COPD, is they end up on ventilators. But once you're on a ventilator with COPD, you can't go off. Like your lungs will forget to breathe and you will die. So that's basically how it works. It also messes with the hypothalamus, which causes your temperature to increase. And we all know that that's problematic as it is, because now you have a fever and that can destroy things if it gets too high. I mean, we all know how fevers work. And on top of that, when you have a fever, it causes inflammation. So now you have inflammation. The cells, the cytokines that cause that, they leak into the source. And so now you have those fucking around with your alveoli and your surfactant. And you basically go into respiratory failure. So as of right now, the coronavirus doesn't usually affect people who are healthy. I mean, it'll be like a really nasty case of the flu is basically what I hear. But it affects anybody with a compromised immune system who can't fight it off, older people, anybody with respiratory problems. It will kill them. And if I'm a carrier and my kid is a carrier, because kids aren't really affected by this, surprisingly, and that's the weird part. But then they go to grandma's house and now grandma gets it, grandma could die. Whereas we might be asymptomatic or only get a bad part of the flu. It will kill them. It will kill anyone with a compromised immune system. It's very deadly in that way. I don't know if you remember SARS, I believe in the early 2000s, the bird flu that came from China. This is basically, it's kind of like that. And they believe it comes from bats. And that's another thing about the virus. It's zoological, so it can go from animals to humans. And when that happens, it mutates. And this virus is already mutating. So, I mean, vaccines take a long enough time as it is. And now you have strains that are mutating. So you started off with this one virus that you were be able to create a vaccine for, and now people have the mutated virus. So that's a huge problem. The problem here in the US is that nobody took it seriously, and we have a really bad president who didn't take it seriously and stormed us with misinformation that we had all these testing abilities and it was going to be fine, and we didn't. We did not have enough testing kits. We still don't have enough testing kits, and they weren't accurate. And I don't know how Canada is doing, but here in the US, our hospitals are overloaded. So you might hear the term flattening the curve a lot. That's basically, I'm sure you've heard stories from Italy and now the US that everybody's getting sick at once and the healthcare system doesn't have the ability to keep up with that. That's why they call flattening the curve, is to not overload the healthcare system. We don't have enough PPE. We don't have masks. Nurses are using bandanas, Halloween costumes to try and protect ourselves because we don't have enough equipment to deal with it. We don't have enough ventilators. So they're choosing people to live and die. They're trying to help who they can and dooming people who are older, things like that. And not only that, you can't just go to the doctor here. I don't know how it is in Canada, but you can't go to the doctor anymore. Um, so, like for me, they've canceled all my OB appointments, so I can't get in, can't address my fertility issues, can't have my back looked at. Um, you can't just go to the doctor, you have to call. So now you have all these other people who were already sick not getting in to see their doctor, or if they can, risking being exposed to it at the doctor. Um, and we had a big problem with people then all of a sudden buying masks and buying gloves and things and not leaving anything for the healthcare workers. And we have a government that's not helping us. Um, and so we don't have enough supplies. We don't have enough ventilators. We don't have enough equipment to cure these people, and they're dying. We have freezer trucks to put the bodies in. I think in Italy it is. They're using ice rinks for morgues. And that's terrible. We've just been completely brought to our knees. And then you have these people who don't understand the seriousness of it, who are still out there just transmitting the illness. Like everywhere, everywhere here is on lockdown. I have an essential job, obviously, as a nurse, so I have to go to work. But like Mitchell's been laid off, he's off. Claire doesn't go to school. The schools are all closed. There's no gatherings whatsoever. And they're saying that this is just the beginning and that it might die down over summer and we're going to get hit again in the fall. Kind of like the Spanish flu, where the Spanish flu hit and then it was fine. And then all of a sudden, just bam, it roared back to life again. And it's terrifying, and it needs to be taken seriously because it doesn't take much to spread it. That's the scary thing. And we don't know enough about it. We don't have a cure. We don't have vaccines. We're still trying to get tests that work. It's not good. It's really not good. It's along the same line as SARS. And I remember I was young still when SARS was there, and I still remember that from my childhood, and that's how it is now. We're not equipped to deal with it, and if you have people who won't take the proper measures, it's just going to spread and spread and spread and spread. There's pictures of empty streets, empty stores that are closed. Those are very, very real. We are all under house arrest, basically. And it needs to be taken seriously. And I have nursing friends, loved ones. I am a nurse, knowing that I might bring something home to my daughter, to my family, to myself, because of people who are contracting a disease that they could have avoided. So that's kind of the lowdown on the coronavirus, and it needs to be taken seriously. As for you, like I said, technically you are high risk because pregnant women have a higher risk of respiratory issues. Would I be panicking about it? Not necessarily. But you need to be aware. Every time I go out somewhere, I go to work, I use my sleeve for handles. I wash my hands all the time. I was doing that anyway, but you need to be aware and you need to be cautious, and you need to make sure that people aren't unnecessarily bringing this virus into your home. And I think that's all I got. I hope it doesn't get that bad by you. I hope your government sucks up. I don't know everything that's happening, and I can't say I have all the latest and greatest. I haven't been serving that necessarily, but we are number one in the world right now with the most cases. It's not something to fuck around with. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I hope I didn't leave out anything. Yeah, feel free to ask me to clarify anything if I need to. I love you.